Okay guys, welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about the Windlass Tourniquet. This little bungee cord looking thing is actually a tourniquet. I want to preface the video by saying don't take any of this to be like medical advice. I'm not a medical professional, so to speak. I'm just going to talk about this, the purpose, the reasons, and the application for just an average Joe civilian, Joe Nobody type thing. So the first thing to keep in mind is this is just a wrap it really tight and secure tourniquet, similar to a TK4. There's a different type of tourniquet called a Windlass Tourniquet, and those are, I would say, a little bit more effective. Actually, the one I carry every day, it's called a Sof T. Gotta pull it off my ankle here. Is this one here. It's called an Sof T Tourniquet, and you can see it's pretty compact, pretty slim, and pretty much how it works is you latch it or put it around your limb, pull it really tight, and then this metal windlass, you give it like one turn, sometimes like a turn and a half or two, and it's super tight and you secure it. And it's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of body movement needed. So that's, I just wanted to kind of illustrate that's what I normally carry. But I wanted to try a new type. And I'd seen some talk about these. And pretty much what it is, I don't know if you've ever used those flat bungee cords, but it's like bungee cord elastic, but it's kind of oval shaped. I brought a tape measure out, and it's roughly, like with the loop, 44 inches uncompressed or unstretched out, and that's including the loop. So total it's about 4 feet long, but with the loop, the 3-finger loop, it's about 44 inches. And it has this metal, I believe it to be aluminum or zinc cleat, as they call it. And I'm going to apply it a couple times. I haven't had these super long, and I've kind of been using one for practice and one for carry. And so bear with me, I'm not like super fast with it, which is going to come, which I'll talk about later. So you pretty much have the 3-finger loop. And the first thing I don't like is it's possible to accidentally put this upside down so the cleat is digging in instead of up. So that's the first thing you have to consciously think about. And I've watched a couple videos. I don't know like the most efficient way to apply it, but get it up here near my armpit. And to me, I think this first wrap's pretty important. And what you're supposed to do, the first thing is if you go like this, with each wrap, this cord's going to twist. So I'm trying not to make that happen. And I think that's all. And so that's another tricky part, is figuring out, can I go around once more? And then say you don't have enough stretch to attach it. Now you have to carefully unwrap it once to apply it. And if your hands are all bloody, slippery, and the whole thing springs off, now you have to reapply it. So you can see that's roughly how it is. Now they talk about having like the spacing less than a ½ inch apart, and even though it's thin, when you wrap it multiple times, it creates a wide band. The caveat is that kind of requires some practice. Like I was saying, I've been practicing from time to time, but now looking at it on camera, I realize that like the spacing's kind of wide. So it's on there, and you know, I can't fully verify that it's completely blocking out blood flow, but it is. My hands kind of like my arms falling asleep, and it's on there pretty tight, and it hurts. So I'm going to pull it off. Now, like I said, this isn't going to be a discussion on how, when, why to use tourniquets. This is just kind of a review on this specific one. So I applied it once. Once my arm kind of heals, or the blood keeps flowing, maybe I'll apply it again. But that was I was using my right hand to apply it, or my dominant to apply it to my non-dominant side. Now I want to use my left hand to apply it to my right. Now the thing to keep in mind is I'm totally conscious right now. I don't have any fluids, blood, guts, grime, moisture, oil, whatever on my hands or anything. I'm not bleeding profusely. So I'm going to use my non-dominant hand and apply it to my dominant side. So loop it through there. Let's see. And the thing is you have to get that cleat in an area where you can attach it. So like I said, this does require a little bit of forethought. The other thing is it's hard to gauge how tight to go. You know, you always, at least I find myself going really tight on the first one, and then on the next ones I was like, I don't know if I should go that tight. So then, as you can see, you put it in, I guess, the upward side, right? So real quick, you can't really even apply it to the lower one. And I don't know, you can come around the top. I guess it doesn't matter, but it barely goes in there and it holds tight. So as you can see, maybe this one was wrapped a little tighter. And what's kind of surprised me is I was able to apply it just about as quick. Either way, you can see I'm not applying it super fast, and I'm not trying to slow it down for the camera. It's just not something that I'm used to, and it requires a lot of movement. Now I'm going to pan the camera down and apply it in the lower body. Okay, so take that, loop it through. Okay, so as you can see, I was only able to get 3 full wraps, and it's about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches wide, and I applied it pretty tight. So in closing, I applied it a couple times, and like I said, I've done it maybe 20-30 times within the past week or so. A couple things to keep in mind is most people aren't going to reliably practice a couple times a week, and maybe that's not even good to do. Blocking total circulation off on a regular basis, and it's a little cumbersome. It's not that precise. You're using your own muscle. The other thing is, when adrenaline's pumping, it changes the game totally. You might cinch it super tight so it's more effective, and at the same time your body's going to be hurting either way and you won't even care. The other thing is, if someone else is applying this to you, or if you're applying this to someone else and you have both your hands to work with, you can loop it around and just cinch it super tight. So if you were applying this to someone else, I think it would be really, really easy. The other thing I want to cover, and a lot of people disagree and say, oh, you shouldn't use it for alternative purposes. You should reserve it just for medical. Yeah, and I understand your reasoning and logic. A couple things I wanted to point out. The first thing is, this is elastic. It's literally a bungee cord that unstretched, it's about 4 feet long. Stretched out, it's at least 6 feet. It's probably closer to 7 feet if you fully stretch it out. Oh, why is that important? Well, just an anecdote. About 2 weekends ago, we were out camping and we had this large tarp, and I hooked it to my roof rack and to a couple large trees with bungee cords. And I was like, I really want to secure that last corner. I don't have any longer bungee cords. I only had these short, like 12 or 16 inches. And I was like, that, I was kind of brainstorming and I pulled this exact one out. This is the one I've kind of been using more for practice. And I looped it through the roof rack and through the grommet, or the tie out point on the tarp, and pulled it so there was some tension, and then just secured it. And you can see it's not going anywhere, and it was super quick to apply, and there's a lot of spring tension, or yeah, it's very tight. The other thing, alternative uses, and again, I'm not saying this is what it's for, I'm saying just alternative uses. Say there's some active shooter type thing, or you're being chased, you're going through a building. A couple applications. First, say it's a hospital and there's those double doors with the grab handles that are required by code. You could use this, throw it through a couple times and cinch it, right? To make, similar to like using, sometimes you see it in movies, like an extension cord or a piece of rope. The difference with this is there's that stretch to it, so when they're trying to beat against it, this is going to act as a shock absorber instead of rope that doesn't stretch and eventually might snap. This will just spring back and forth. The other thing is those self-closing on doors. You've probably seen them, so the door doesn't slam shut. It's a hydraulic thing, and it's kind of a shape of like a V. You could use this, throw it around there, and lash it, and that would make that door inoperable. The other thing is, say it's an evacuation type thing, and you need to secure a door open. You could loop this through the handle, pull it, and lash it around something secure to keep that door from closing on you, say you need to evacuate people. As an emergency restraint, again, we're talking alternative uses. The other thing is in a like survival Jeremiah Johnson scenario where you have to trap all your game. This could be used as some type for a trap, as a trigger, or in some type of like fishing setup. Sets the hook, and then this springs up, or this springs up to set the hook. So there's a lot of alternative uses, and I like the Macgyver aspect of it. So that wraps up this review. Like always, go back to my homepage, watch some of my current videos. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.